Good morning to all. So in the last class we discussed about the topic modems, different types of modems and some details regarding the external and internal modems and like that. So today we have the another topic of this module, which is the last topic of this module, the seventh topic, which is the central processing unit. So we discussed about the introduction. At the time of the introduction we discussed about some basic facts regarding this central processing unit, different divisions under the kinds of this central processing unit, and now we have to focus on different components of this CPU, then the functions of the CPU, and also some details regarding the components of the CPU, then the different kinds of processors. So these are the basic topics which comes under the topic which is the central processing unit. So basically a central processing unit is also known as a processor or the microprocessor or the central processor. It is the portion of a computer system that carries out the instructions of a computer program, and it is the primary element which carrying out the computer's functions. So it is basically the primary part of a computer in which it just carries all these kind of computer's functions, and it is regarded as a kind of microprocessor or the central processor, and it is the portion of a computer system that carries out the instructions of a computer program, and as well as the primary element of this carry out this kind of computer functions. So it just accepts all these kinds of instructions, and after that it just performs all these kinds of instructions. So that's regarding just a definition for the CPU. So I repeat, it is the primary portion of a computer that carries out the instructions of a computer program, and it is the primary element carrying out the computer's functions. And regarding CPU, it is often called as the brain of the computer, and CPU communicates with and often controls the operations of other subsystems within the computer. So this is regarding just an overview regarding the CPU. So we already discussed about the different kinds of elements under the topic the CPU in the first class of this chapter, which is the introduction to the hardware. So CPU, we can divide these kind of topics into different categories, which includes these control unit and the arithmetic logic unit. So the central processing unit can be divided into two major categories, which means the ALU and the CU. CU means the control unit. So we have these kind of details to focus on while we discussing this main topic, which is the CPU. So the definition of this CPU that we already discussed about that, and now we have the fundamental operation of this CPU. So the fundamental operations of most CPUs, regardless of the physical form that they take, is to execute a sequence of stored instructions called a program, and the program is represented by a series of numbers that are kept in some kind of computer memory. And there are four steps that for this CPU, in which these four steps that nearly all the CPU use in their operation. So we have four operations regarding this kind of CPU. So the first one is the fetching, second one is the decode, and the third one is execute, and the fourth one, last one, is the write back. So with these four operations, the CPU or the operations of CPU should perform in a very systematic manner. So this is the fundamental operation of CPU, in which it just execute a sequence of stored instructions called a program. So a program is a kind of very important aspect regarding a computer, in which the sequence of a stored instructions, it is defined as the program, and after that this program is represented by a series of numbers that are kept in some kind of computer memory. So there is a kind of numbers and these kind of numericals and this kind of alphabets basically that displayed on these computers, but basically in the computer system, in the memory level and on the processing level, we have this kind of binary operation operations. So that is focused here, which is the program, and the program is represented by a series of numbers that are kept in some kind of computer memory, and we have 4 steps, which includes the fetching, decoding, executing, and write back. So these are the 4 major operations of the CPU. So now we have these kind of different kinds of these steps or operations of this CPU, which means the fetching, decoding, and executing, and also the write back process. So the first step is the fetch, which means it involves the retrieving an instructions which is represented by a number or sequence of numbers from program memory, and the location in program memory is determined by the program counter, which means the PC, regarded as a PC program counter, which stores these kinds of numbers that identifies the current position of the program. So the fetching means, simply it means retrieving an instructions, means it catching all these kind of instructions, and with this kind of step, the fetching step, which involves this kind of retrieving an instruction which is represented by a number of, or the sequence of numbers. So basically for the binary language we have only 2 kinds of numbers, 1 and 0. So the 1 and 0 it is simultaneously represented by to get a kind of a program, but these kinds of numbers or the sequence of numbers is used for this kind of fetching or this retrieving of an instruction also, which means from program memory all these kinds of information from the program should be retrieved to the computer, and this location in program memory, which is determined by a program counter, which means counting all these kinds of aspects of the program, and which stores a number that identifies the current position in the program. So there is a difference in the position of these kinds of numbers to determine the current status of a program, current position of this program. In other words, the program counter keeps track of the CPU's place in the current program. After an instruction is fetched, the PC is incremented by the length of the instruction word in terms of the memory units, and often the instruction to be fetched must be retrieved from relatively slow memory, causing the CPU to stall while waiting for the instruction to be returned. And this issue is largely addressed in the modern processors by caches and pipeline architectures. So this is the first step of this fetching kinds of this operation of the CPU, in which the CPU just retrieves all these kinds of instructions from the program to the computer memory, and it just performs all these kind of tasks inside the CPU. And in other words, the program counter keeps track of the CPU's place in the current program. So there is a kind of counting on all the kinds of these computer programs. After an instruction is fetched, the PC is incremented by the length of the instruction word in terms of the memory units. So each of these kinds of instructions should be stored like the memory units, and often the instruction to the fetched must be retrieved from relatively slow memory, causing the CPU to stall while waiting for the instruction to be returned. So there is a kind of lag between the program to be performed because of these kinds of loss in memory to perform these kinds of tasks. So it is a kind of drawback, but this issue is largely addressed in modern processors by caches and pipeline architectures. So it is also a kind of a problem in every kinds of this processor. So this is the first step, basic of this first step. And the instruction, the second step we have these kinds of decoding. So the first step is the fetching, retrieving all these kinds of instruction, and second step is most important aspect regarding the CPU, in which it just decodes into the computer language. So that's the regarding the first step. Now we have to focus on the second step, which is the decoding. So the second step is the decoding process. So basically in this process it just decodes all these kinds of performed instructions into a computer readable form. So the instruction that the CPU fetches from the memory, which is used to determine what the CPU is to do. And in the decode step, the instruction is broken up into parts that have significance to other portions of the CPU, and the way in which the numerical instruction value is interpreted is defined by the CPU's instruction set architecture, which means the ISAs. So often one group of numbers in the instructions called the opcode indicates which operation is to perform, and the remaining parts of the number usually provide the information required for that instructions, such as the operands and for the addition operations. So this means that for these kinds of decoding process, there is a kind of another important feature. The process takes place inside the computer, which means the way in which the numerical instructions values is interpreted is defined by the CPU's instruction set architecture. So the CPU instruction set architecture, which is known by the name ISAs. So the ISA just determines all these kinds of instructions which is already we gave to the computer in the first step, which is the fetching step. So all these kinds of the instructions should be read by with the help of these ISAs, and often one group of numbers in this in the instruction called the opcode indicates which operation is to perform, and the remaining parts of the number usually provide the information required for that instruction. So thus this instruction is divided into two major categories, in which the first category, in which the one group of numbers in the instruction called the opcode, they indicates which operation is to perform. So the operation is again divided into two forms. The first one in which they just find out what operation is to perform, and they are called the opcode. So this opcode just performs, this indicates this operation, which operation is to perform, and the remaining parts in which the remaining numericals in the program instructions of that number, they usually provide the information required for that instruction. For the first instruction, the second instruction will give some kinds of information to perform the first instruction in a very good manner. So this is the first segment in the decoding process. So we just divided that process into two categories. Basically the first category is that the just which we can call that instruction as the opcode, and to perform this opcode, the remaining kinds of these numerics or these kind of values, they give these kinds of information for the first kind of this operation. So this is the first step in the decoding process, and in which they provide just operation the information required for that instruction, such as the operands for an addition operation. Then such operands may be given as a constant value called an immediate value. So there is a change in its value in which there should be a constant value to perform all these instructions, and this value is known by the name the immediate value. And or as a place to locate a value, a register or a memory address as determined by some addressing mode. And in older designs, the portions of the CPU is responsible for the instruction decoding were unchangeable hardware devices. However, in more abstract and complicated CPUs and ISAs, a microprogram is often used to assist in translating the instructions into various configuration signals for the CPU. So there is a kind of translating, just interchanging all these kinds of values into the computer readable form while in the decoding process. So it is very important. So all these kinds of complicated CPUs and ISAs, a microprogram is often used to assist these kinds of translating the instructions, and this microprogram is sometimes rewritable to that it can be modified to change the way the CPU decodes the instructions even after it has been manufactured. So it also can rewrite some kinds of these instructions in a very good manner. So in the decoding step, only one thing that we should focus on is that it just performs these instructions into different levels, basically two levels, and the first level is this kind of opcode, and which indicates which gives a kinds of numbers into for the instruction to perform that kind of instructions. And then there is a kind of another segment of these numbers. They usually only provide these kinds of information which is used to perform the first operation. So this is the major thing regarding the decoding step. So in the decoding step, simply it just decodes all these kinds of instructions into the computer readable form, and then it just performs in the next step. So the first step was the fetching step, second one was the decoding, and third one was the executing. So now we are going to discuss the topic, the executing step. So after the fetch and decode steps, the execute step is performed. So we have four major steps in the CPU. The first one was the fetching, second one was the decoding, and third one now we have the executing step. So during this step, the various portions of the CPU are connected so they can perform the desired operation. And if for instance an addition operation was requested, an ALU, which means a kind of segment in the CPU, which is the ALU, arithmetic logic unit, and also we have the CU, which is the control unit. So for instance, for example, if an addition operation was requested, this ALU will be connected to a set of inputs and a set of outputs, and the input provide the numbers to be added, and the output will contain the final sum. So this means that according to the mode of operation, the specification of the operation or the instruction, it will just give to the ALU or to the CU. For example, to add two or more numbers with the help of this computer, it will just gives this instruction to the ALU itself. So ALU just perform this task, and it will provide the output as the result. So that's regarding the third step of this CPU, in which the executing step, and the inputs provide the numbers to be added, and the outputs will contain the final sum, and the ALU contains the circuitry to perform simple arithmetic and logic operations in the inputs like the addition and multiplication and like that. And if the addition operation produces these kinds of result too large for the CPU to handle, an arithmetic overflow flag in a flag register may also be set. So there is a kind of limit to perform all these tasks. So beyond that, there is a kind of like the overflow flag for this kind of operations too. So that's regarding the third steps of this operation of this computer. So the first one was the fetching step, second one was the decoding. So firstly, it just retrieves all these kinds of information or these kinds of instructions to the computer. Then secondly, it just decodes, it just translates all these kinds of instructions, and it gives the kinds of instruction to perform all these tasks. Thirdly, it just execute all these tasks according to its specifications. It is very important. So for this kind of logical and arithmetic kinds of operation, ALU is performed, whereas for the any other kinds of operation, the CU, control unit, is performed. And now we have the final step of this category, which is the write back step. So the final step, or the write back, which simply writes back the results of the execute step to some form of the memory, and very often the results are written to some internal CPU register for quick access by subsequent instructions. In other cases, or other results may be written to slower but cheaper and larger main memory. So we have primary memory and secondary memory. So all these kinds of instruction is transferred to the main memory itself. So Basically, by performing all these kinds of tasks, it just writes back all these kinds of tasks to the main memory, and then after write back all these kinds of instructions to the main memory, some types of instructions manipulate the program counter, which means the PC, rather than directly produce the result data, and these are generally called the jumps and facilitate the behavior like loops, conditional program execution through the use of the conditional jump, and functions in programs. So this means that there is a kind of another activity which comes under the final step of this operation, which is called as the jumps. So the jumps means all these kinds of result, which after the producing these kinds of result, some types of instructions manipulate the program counter rather than directly produce the result data. So some kinds of result may produce the result as a kind of output to the computer. So these are generally called jumps. So jumps and facilitate behavior like the loops, conditional program execution, and functions in programs, and many instructions will also change the state of digits into the flags register, and these flags can be used to influence how a program behaves, since they often indicate the outcome of various operations. So there is a kind of another division inside these kinds of write back category, the final step of this CPU operations, in which there is a kind of flags register that we already discussed in the last topic regarding the execution, in which there should be an overflow flag if it cannot handle these kinds of operation in the CPU. So here also we have these kinds of flags as the registers, and these flags can be used to influence how a program behaves, since they often indicate the outcome of various operations. For example, one type of compare instruction considers two values and sets a number in the flags register according to which one is greater, and the flag could then be used by a later jump instructions to determine the program flow. So this means that for comparing two kinds of files by executing these kinds of two same files, but maybe the values may be changed. So with the help of these kinds of flags and registers, it just compares these instructions and just compares only the two values of these two kinds of these instructions, and then sets a number in the flags register according to which one is the greatest one. So thus it just compares which is the better one and which is the not a good one. So that's regarding just an result analysis of this write back operation. After the execution of the instruction and write back of the resulting data, the entire process repeats again with the next instruction cycle, normally fetching the next in sequence instructions because of the incremented value in the program counter. If the completed instructions was a jump, the program counter will be modified to contain the address of the instructions that was jumped to, and program execution continues normally. And also in some kinds of these complex cases, the CPUs than the one described here, the multiple instructions can be fetched, decoded and executed simultaneously, called as the parallel processing. So that's regarding a basic fundamental of the operation of the CPU. So the performance or the speed of a processor, it depends on the clock rate and the instructions per clock, which means the IPC, which together are the factors for the instructions per second, which means the IPS, that the CPU can perform. And the processing performance of computers is increased by using the multi-core processors, which essentially is plugging two or more individual processors called the cores in the sense, and into one integrated circuit. Ideally, a dual core processor would be nearly twice as powerful as a single core processor. So regarding the processor, we have different categories, basically single core and dual core, and the dual core processors are very powerful in its nature, in which it gives a kinds of a very good operating speed for the computers, and so these kinds of a dual core processor would be nearly twice as powerful as a single core processor. So it means that it can perform a very good amount of task in a very single sense with the help of these dual core processors than the single core processors, and we can calculate these kinds of performance speed with the help of this clock rate and the instructions per clock, which means the IPC, which together are the factors for the instructions per second. So according to the clock speed, we can calculate the speed of the processor, in which how much time to take to boot the computer, how much time to take to process all these kinds of tasks. So like that, it can get a clear idea regarding the clock speed of the processor. So for the ideal use, the dual core processors are very useful for these kinds of operations. Then in practice, however, the performance gains is far less, only about 50%, due to the imperfect software algorithms and implementation. So basically, if the computer's performance may depend upon the softwares that installed in it. So that's regarding the basics of this functionality of this central processing unit. We have four major operations in which the fetching, decoding, executing and write back. So with these operations, a computer should perform in a very systematic manner with the help of the CPU. So the CPU is divided into the arithmetic logic unit and the control unit. So the arithmetic logic unit is exclusively for the logic and arithmetic numeric operations, whereas the other kind of this part, which is this control unit, it just controls all these kinds of activities. So that's regarding the central processing unit in a detailed manner. So we have to focus on the next topic, which is the components of the CPU. So the CPU, it is made up of three major components. So the three major components of the CPU, which includes the registers, the arithmetic and logic unit, which means the ALU, and the control unit. So we have one more category under the CPU, which means the registers, then the arithmetic and logic unit, which means the ALU, and the control unit, which is the CU. So these are the major three components of the CPU, and the components are connected by a bus, which is a collection of parallel wires for transmitting the address, data and control signals. So the definition for the bus is that it is a collection of parallel wires for transmitting the address, data and control signals, and buses can be external to the CPU, connecting it to the memory and input-output devices, but also internal to the CPU. So there are external buses and internal buses that we already discussed while the introduction to this chapter. So which means that the internal buses helps to connect inside the computer, which means inside the motherboard, especially the RAM, ROM, like that. So the external buses means the USB kinds of this connection, external kinds of this connection, all these kinds of external aspects which comes under the external buses. So we have another important figure regarding these components of CPU, which is given in the textbook itself, which gives a clear idea regarding these kinds of operations of the CPU. So in that figure we have the CPU, which is divided into three major topics, in which the ALU and CU is the major components, and also we have the registers to perform all these kinds of tasks, and besides that at the outer level we have the control bus, the data bus and also the address bus. So these are the three kinds of this system bus, which means the control, data, address. So these are the three kinds of different types of bus which is available for these CPUs. Then the control unit, it directs and controls the activities of the internal and external devices. So the first topic under the components of CPU is the control unit, and the control unit, it just directs and controls controls the activities of the internal and the external devices, and it interprets the instructions fetched into the computer, determines what data, if any, are needed, where it is stored, where to store the results of the operation, and sends the control signals to the devices involved in the execution of the instructions. So these are the major important factors regarding the control unit. Firstly, it just directs and controls the activities of the internal and external devices. So it just controls all these kinds of activity, basically the input and output activities, which means the internal and external devices. Then after that, it interprets the instruction fetched into the computer, and then determines the data, what kinds of the data it is, then if any are needed, where it is stored, and where to store the results of the operation. So all these kinds of A to Z kinds of these operations and controlling are done with the help of this control unit. So it just go through all these kinds of tasks, which includes where these kinds of data is stored, where to store these kinds of results of the operation, and also sends all these kinds of control signals to the devices involved in the execution of the instructions. Then there are two implementation of control units. The first type called the hardwired control unit, and which are constructed using the digital circuits, and once formed cannot be changed. And the other type is, second type is the called as the microprogrammed control unit, also known as the firmware, is implemented using the microprograms. So we have two kinds of these control units, in which the first one is made up of this hardware, second one is of these kinds of microprograms. So the first type is the first type of this control unit, or this segment is we can call this segment as the hardwired control unit, which means the basic physical part of this control unit. And second part is the firmware, which means the firmware means the kinds of microprograms, the programs which is used to control the system activities. So for the mobile device, the firmware means the Android operating system, or the iOS operating system. So this means that the basic of the operations is done with the help of this firmware. So this is the second category segment in the CPU, and this is used by the microprograms. And a microprogram control unit itself decodes and executes the instructions by means of executing the microprograms. So this is the basic of this microprogrammed control unit, in which it itself decodes and executes the instructions by means of executing the microprogram. So all these kinds of small activities and the like assistance for these kinds of control unit, the microprograms or the firmware helps to control and to decode and also to execute the instructions by means of executing these microprograms. So that's regarding the control unit. So I repeat, it is the kind of device or the major component of the CPU, in which it directs and controls the activities of the internal and external devices. It interprets the instructions fetched into the computer, determines what kinds of data it is, where to be stored, where to publish these kinds of results, etc. Then we have two kinds of implementation of control unit. First one is the hardwired control unit, second one is the firmware kinds of this control unit, which means the microprogrammed control units. So these are the basics or the major details regarding the control unit, which is the first segment of the component of the CPU. Then second one is the arithmetic and logic unit. So ALU is one of the another important factor regarding the components of the CPU, in which it carries out the arithmetic and logical operation on the data made available to it. So basically it only carries these kinds of arithmetic and logic operations on these kinds of data made available to it. And basic arithmetic functions which an ALU can carry out include the addition and subtraction. So basically it can carry this addition and subtraction kinds of these mathematical operations, and more powerful CPUs can support additional mathematical operations like the multiplication and division. So the power of the or the kind of this impact of the CPU, it also depends on the ALU's functions, in which more powerful CPUs can support additional mathematical operations like the multiplication and division, and the logical operation that can be carried out by the CPU include the comparison operation like greater than, equal to, and less than, like that. And besides this operation, some processors also support the operation which check if particular bytes are on or off. So this means that it also performs the arithmetic as well as the logical side of this control unit, the central processing unit, in which it just calculate these kinds of functionality, which means the greater than, less than, that kind of comparisons. All these comparison are done with the help of this arithmetic and logic unit. So that's regarding the ALU. Now we have the last topic under the components of the CPU, which is the registers. So registers, what the registers means a kind of temporary kind of storage locations, and an important register called the program counter, which means the PC, it keeps track of the next instruction to be executed. So the registers within the CPU are special purpose temporary storage locations. So this is the definition, a very simple definition for the registers, in which they are the special purpose temporary storage locations. And also an important register that we should focus on is the program counter, which means the PC, it keeps track of the next instruction to be executed. And after that, the instruction register or the IR is a register which holds the instruction to be decoded by the control unit. So the first one is the PC, which is the program counter. Second one is the IR, which means the instruction register. So regarding the registers, we have the first two category, which includes the program counter, then the instruction register, which is the IR. So the program counter keeps track of next instructions to be executed. Then the instruction registers is a register which holds the instruction to be decoded by the control unit. Then the third one is the memory address register, which is MAR. It is a register which points to the memory location which the CPU plans to access. So this register is exclusively for the memory level of the CPU. Then we have another kind of this memory level type of this registers, which includes the memory buffer register, which is very important aspect regarding the memory, system memory, the MBR, then which is also referred to as the memory data register, MDR. It is used to storage the data either coming to the CPU or data being transferred by the CPU. So this is very important aspect regarding the registers. The MBR or the MDR, this register is used for the system data either coming to the CPU or data being transferred by the CPU. So coming and outgoing, all these kinds of activities which is handled by these MBR kinds of these registers. Then the accumulator, the ACC, it is a general purpose register used for the storing operations, temporary results and results produced by the arithmetic and logic unit. So the fifth category of this register is the accumulator, which is the ACC. It is a general purpose register used for the storing the operands, temporary results and results produced by the arithmetic and logic unit. So these kinds of accumulator is exclusively for to store these kinds of operation, the results in which is in a temporary manner, and the results produced by the ALU. Then besides this, a processors can have many other registers, but they are the most basic and essential registers necessary for any CPU. So we just discussed through the 5 major kinds of registers. They are the first one was the program counter PC, second one was the instruction register, which is the IR, the third one was the memory address register, which is also regarded as the MAR, then the fourth one was the MBR, memory buffer register, or the MDR, which is the memory data register. Then the last one was the accumulator. So all these kinds of registers are very important, and the major function of this registers is to they are regarded as the CPU within the CPU. The registers within the CPU are the special purpose temporary storage locations in order to perform the special kinds of this task with the help of these registers. So that's regarding the components of the CPU. We discussed about the control unit, the arithmetic logic unit, and also the registers. So these are the basics of the CPU and how it performs the function of these components. So this is one of the important factor regarding the CPU. Before that, we just discussed about the introduction and the major 4 operations of the CPU, which includes the fetching, decoding, executing, and write back, all these kinds of operations. And then we discussed about the components of the CPU. So that's for today. In the next class, we have one more topic under the processor types, which is the last topic of this module, which is the different kinds of processors and just a comparison between different kinds of processors, like that. So we go through all these topics in the next class. So that's for today. Thank you. Happy learning.